Hello everyone, welcome to Learning with Dr. Shivangi. Today's topic is privileges and exemptions available to all private companies. As in the previous videos, we already started the playlist for the subject company law and also discuss various topics related to it like different provisions of company law, amendments of companies law, authorities related to company law and so on. So in today's video, we'll discuss about the privileges and exemptions available to the private companies. You can also watch other videos, links are provided in the description box. So before started the video, I want to say you that if you like my video, please like and share this video and don't forget to subscribe my channel, which is Learning with Dr. Shivangi. Now coming to the main topic, which is privileges and exemptions available to all private companies. So what are the different privileges which are provided to the companies, especially to the private companies, we'll discuss here. All the private companies under the jurisdiction of Indian Company Act receive the following privileges and concessions, which are briefly discussed as follows. So what are the different privileges? First one is regarding formation or incorporation. Second is regarding issue of shares. Third is regarding shares. Fourth is regarding meetings. Next is regarding managerial remuneration. Next is related to appointment of manager. Next is related to investment, and the last is from central government. So these are the various privileges and exemptions available to all private companies. So now we are discussing each of the point one by one in detail. So first one is the regarding formation or incorporation of the private companies. The privileges and concessions to private companies are as under. First one is a private company needs to have only 2 members minimum, where the minimum number of members for a public company is 7. This criteria is defined under section 12 of Companies Act. So there is only 2 members required to form a private company. A private company can allot its shares without receiving the minimum subscriptions. They can distribute shares without any minimum subscriptions to the public. The next privilege is it is not mandatory for a private company to submit its prospectus or statement in lieu of a prospectus to the registrar of companies. And the last one is related to formation, which is a private company can commence its business immediately on receipt of its certificate of incorporation and is not required to have a certificate of commencement of business, which is mandatory for a public company. So it is not compulsory to have more members for corporation of formation of private company. It is also not mandatory to submit prospectus or statement in lieu of prospectus to the registrar of the company, which is mandatory in the case of public company. And it is a private company can commence its business immediately after the receipt of certificate of incorporation. The second privilege is related to the issue of shares. The privilege of private company with respect to issue of shares, shared areas are as under. A private company which is subsidiary of a public company may assist the holding company of which it is a subsidiary in the issue of its shares. The regulations with respect to the division of shares and voting are not applicable to a private company. It is not necessary for a private company to offer any new issue of shares to its shareholders, that is, it may offer such shares to any person it may want. So generally a private company which is the holding subsidiary company of public company may assist the holding company which is the subsidiary in the issue of shares. The division of shares and voting is not applicable in the private companies. The next privilege is regarding shares. If the directors of a private company refuse to accept the transfer of shares of the company, no appeal can be made against their decisions of the central government, which is defined in the section 111. So in the case of private company, directors can refuse the acceptance of transfer of shares of the company and no appeal can be done against them. The next privilege is regarding meetings. Regarding meetings, there are several privileges. First one is a private company need not necessarily call for a statutory meeting, and as such it is not mandatory for a private company of submit a statutory report to the registrar of companies. This is defined under section 165. A private company can make regulations by its articles with respect to the provisions of section 171 to 186 relating to notice of meetings, quorum and poll, etc., which is defined as section 170 first part under the second part of the section. So regarding meeting, it is not necessary to call all statutory meeting. It is not mandatory for a private company to notify the registrar of the companies. A private company can make its own regulations by its articles or by a resolution of its members in this respect, which is defined under section 17. At least two members of a private company must be present at its to make quorum general meeting, whereas number of members is 5 in the case of public company, which is defined under section 174. A poll may be taken on a demand made by one member of a private company having the right to vote, whereas in a public company, a poll can only be taken on a demand of at least 5 members. So a private company can make its own regulations, its articles, its resolution of members also. There's only at least two members are required to be present at the general meeting of the private company. The other privileges related to the managerial remuneration. The upper limit of managerial remuneration of 11% of the company's profit is not applicable in a private company. That is, a private company can pay more than 11% of its profits to the managerial staff, which is defined under section 198. So there is no foundation for a private company to make the limit for the remuneration of managerial staff. The next privilege is regarding to the appointment of manager. A private company may appoint any firm, body, corporate or association as its manager. A person can be appointed as the manager of more than one private company, which is defined under section 486, 387 and 388. So a private company may appoint any firm, body, corporate or association of its manager also. The next privilege is regarding to the investment. A private company can freely invest its funds in other companies in the same group, which is defined under section 372. So regarding investment, it is free to invest in any company in the same group also. And the last privilege is regarding to the central government. So the provisions of law regarding to the authority of central government to prevent change in the board of directors are not applicable to the private company, which is defined under section 409 of the Companies Act. So it is not mandatory to provide the change to the board of directors is applicable to the private company also. So this is all privileges and exemptions which is applicable to the all private companies. I again summarizes all the points so that you can easily understand about the topic. So these are the various privileges and exemptions which is regarding formation of incorporation. Second is the issue of shares. Next is related to shares. Next is regarding meetings. Next is related to managerial remuneration. Next is appointment of manager. Next is related to investment, and the last is from central government. A private company needs only 2 members for incorporation of the private company. It is not mandatory for private company to submit its prospectus for the formation of the company. A private company may assist the holding company of which it is a subsidiary of issue in the shares. And the directors of private company can refuse the acceptance of transfer of shares of the company also. Regarding meeting, there is no requirement, not mandatory to appear all the statutory meetings in the case of private companies. A private company can make its own regulations, own articles and resolutions also. The upper limit of the salary of the managerial staff is not mandatory in the case of private company. A private company may appoint any firm, body, corporate or association of its managers also. And it is free to invest in any other company in the same group also. And they are regarding the authority of central government, it is not mandatory to prevent change in the board of directors, which is not applicable to the private companies. So this is all about the privileges and exemptions available to all private companies. If you have any query about this topic, or if you want to know about any other topic related to research methodology, business management, business environment, you can ask me through comment box. If you like my video, please like and share this video, and don't forget to subscribe my channel, which is Learning with Dr. Shivangi. We'll meet in the next video with new topic. Thank you everyone.